Alright, welcome back and thanks for joining me. My name's Doc, and for those of you who join me regularly, welcome back, and for those of you whose first time it is, welcome. Today, I'm going to get to an article that I found after I put up my other video 2 days ago. I found it over at WorldNet Daily as well. I really like that website. And it ties in to another story that I will tie into this as we go along, because it really brings out the points that this mother was trying to make. And of course the article is "Court Orders Christian Child into Government Education. 10-year-old's vigorous defense of her faith condemned by judge." Now here's the thing, right? Okay, now the girl's 10 years old, right? And she's been homeschooled her whole life. But that doesn't mean that she hasn't been included in activities or anything. She's played all the sports. She's done all of those things. Okay, her mother made sure she was in all that stuff in several clubs, so that she had plenty of social interaction. Okay, the issue here was that there apparently was a custody agreement going on, or a visitation agreement, and so during that time a mediator was brought in to mediate that. And this lady on her own was so anti-religion that she took it upon herself to do what neither of the parents wanted, and actually is forcing this child into public school because she feels like that her religion influences her too much. Are you kidding me? Her religion influences her too much? There is no state right and no court right in any land here in America, in any state, that allows the government to regulate what a person believes according to their religion. This is so against the Constitution, and so against... This is what everyone, according to the history books, fled Europe to get to America to be able to do, was to be able to practice their religion in the manner they wanted, and to raise their families in the ways they wished. And this is a direct assault on that. And somehow this social worker got a judge to go along with this, because the judge apparently thought that the child needed to be influenced more by the public school system. And that's going to bring me into my next point, right? Now, I initially found the article over at Blacklisted News, right? But it's the newly released UNESCO. UNESCO is United Nations Economic, Social, and Cultural Organization. It's from the United Nations. It's UNESCO, and they're a huge educational foundation that basically exerts its force over the different school systems of the nations involved in the UN. And they've issued out mandatory sex education guidelines for all of their member countries. Now, I want to let you, and I'm going to show you this stuff too, because you are just not going to believe it, right? Okay, they want to teach 5 to 8-year-olds about where and how to touch their body parts that feels good. They want to have another section on masturbation to 5 and 8-year-olds. 5 and 8-year-olds. They want to have another section indoctrinating children that being homosexual is normal. Okay? And I'm going to insert a couple of photos here, right, so that I can show you that the main agenda behind the homosexual movement in America is the education system. It's to take over the education system so that they can actually start breeding future mates for themselves. In other words, because they're a parasitic lifestyle, right? They have to be parasites on the normal people to find a partner. So they want to make it law under tolerance to where your 5-year-olds get taught about things like anal sex and how that feels. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to have pictures all along here to show you that they want to teach 5 to 8-year-olds and 9 to 12-year-olds about how good anal sex feels. and how good masturbation feels, and how that they shouldn't be ashamed if they want to do it. And not only that, that they should have the right to do it without you as a parent knowing. A few of the other things they want to teach about too are cultural and religious messages regarding sex, gender, and sexuality. And you think that that means that they want to teach what those different things teach to the people, right? But that's not it. What they've done is they've separated it into two pieces. And what they do is they talk briefly in one bullet point about traditional sexual roles. And then there's 4 bullet points in the 5 to 8-year-olds after that that talk about only what is wrong with traditional belief systems. List things that are wrong with this traditional belief. List why this is wrong with that. It's a whole host of exercises to undermine the family's right to decide, the family's right to raise their family in the way they so choose, right? And the religion that they so choose. And that brings me to another story. This happened in Canada, where a gal was posting herself on the internet inappropriately to men. She was like 12, I think. And so he banned her from the internet. And because they have passed these UN rights of the child sort of like laws in Canada, the daughter was able to get angry because he restricted her from doing something she wanted to do as a punishment for what she did, exposing herself on the internet to men, grown men. She took him to court, and the court ruled that his punishment was too harsh and took away his right to tell her what to do for her own good. Obviously, a nude pre-18-year-old online soliciting men is not something you want your child to do, and yet the UN wants laws to where it's mandatory that you allow them to, and not only that, but that they have the say over your children and what they will or won't know. They have the right to forcibly teach your children things that are against your religion and against your values in the name of experiencing them to more social possibilities. No, that is not it. It is to undermine your words. See, when you have a child, the thing that imprints on them most is you and your values. And so if you've taken the time to instill good values in your children and sense of right and wrong, they have to undermine that in order for them to convince your children that you are wrong and that the government knows better than you and that they should listen to them and not you. That is what this is about. And it circles all the way back with the Hegelian dialectic, right? Because in the Hegelian dialectical style of government, right, is incrementalism. And so it is a far-reaching plan. And so if they can get your 5-year-old now and convince him that you're wrong and traditional values are wrong, and traditional will include everything up from before up to your child's current experience. That will be parenthesed into traditional norms, okay? And all traditional norms to these people are to be questioned, right? Because they want an ever-expanding norm so that they can include whatever feel-good thing of the day into their new social change curriculums. And so if down the road they want to teach your kids that being heterosexual at all is bad, they can do this in the name of population reduction and Agenda 21. All is legal under that as long as they create what they call a zero-growth society where all children, all property, all people are controlled by the state. And they do it by incrementalism, by making you compromise, by making you seem to be extreme unless you're willing to compromise. But here's the thing, right? You traditionalists are always having to compromise. You've compromised to the point now to where you're 10 steps back from where you were. They don't compromise steps back. They hold firm to where they are and make you seem the bigot if you won't compromise in order to gain control of you. At some point, you have to plant your feet in the ground and stare them nose to nose in the face and tell them no. My 8-year-old does not need to know how to masturbate, and neither does my 12-year-old, and they certainly don't need to know how pleasurable anal sex is with a same-sex partner and how it should be something you should agree with. Okay? They're 12. They're 8. They should be involved with chasing butterflies, okay, and playing patty cake and jumping rope. They should not be knowing about which of their body parts and which way to rub them to make them feel good.